Damascus, Syria. November 1988. On the 5th floor of the Al-Mouwasat University Hospital, 30 officers of the Syrian Air Force Intelligence Directorate hold a 2-corridor wing that has been sealed for 19 days around a single wounded man. Every visitor is searched to the skin. Every delivery is opened. Every hallway is cleared before he is moved from bed to window. But the ward still runs on its rounds. Every 4 hours, at 0600 hours, at 1000, at 1400, at 1800, at 2200, and at 0200 hours. A nurse walks past all 30 of them with a drug trolley they never once examine. Her Mossad codename is Black Cap. This is Operation Rota. Welcome to Agent Uncovered. If this is your first time here, subscribe now. Every operation we tell is fiction, drawn from real tradecraft, real geography, and real intelligence history. The morning of the 8th of November, 1988, came in over Damascus cold and dry, with the low winter light picking out the bare crown of Jebel Qasyoun above the city. Along the Metzeh Autostrade, the wide east-west artery that runs out towards the Beirut Road, a black Mercedes and a hospital ambulance turned off the highway and passed through the outer gate of Al-Mouwasat University Hospital. The two vehicles held straight for the main block. From the 5th floor windows of the north wing, 4 plainclothes officers with concealed earpieces watched them cross the last 200 meters of tarmac. The wounded man on the stretcher, moved from the ambulance to a wheeled bed at the freight lift, was Basil Shukri al-Tuhami. Inside his own faction, he was Abu al-Walid. Outside it, on the file the case officer Zeev Kaplan had held at the Nicosia station of Mossad's Zomet Directorate. He was the operations chief of the Sword of Return Command, a rejectionist Palestinian splinter, one of the smaller factions the Assad government tolerated at arm's length. With perhaps 180 armed men across positions in the Bekaa Valley and southern Lebanon, and a plane-fronted office in the Yarmouk refugee camp in the south of Damascus. He had been born in Sidon in 1946. He was 42 years old. 9 months before al-Tuhami's ambulance turned off the Metzeh Autostrade, on the 3rd of February 1988, a scheduled flight from Beirut had put a Lebanese passport holder through Syrian border control on arrival in Damascus, in a queue of returning Lebanese Christians. The photograph in the passport showed a woman in her early 30s with dark hair, pale eyes, and a composed professional expression that photographed well. The name on the passport was Nour Sahyoun. The name on her Mossad file was Adi Benzvi. Her code name was Black Cap. The morning the sealed wing stood up, Black Cap was on the 6-to-2 shift on the 2nd floor general ward. She learned that the 5th floor had been closed by watching an orderly at 0748 hours tape a handwritten notice to the inside face of the 3rd floor lift door telling domestic staff that access to floors 4 and 5 was suspended until further notice. She read the notice, walked back to her drug trolley, and went on with a bandage change. Black Cap moved from the 2nd floor general ward to the private suite Rota on the 9th of November, the day after the wing stood up, on a routine reallocation signed off by the matron, who had been trained to expect it. Sayeg, over the previous week, had left the matron in no doubt that the Beirut-trained junior on the 2nd floor was steady, quiet, and unlikely to gossip. The reallocation, in the ordinary flow of a Damascus teaching hospital, was small enough to attract no attention at all. She was one of the 3 staff nurses on the wing's day rota from the 10th. She was one of the 3 on the night rota from the 14th. The complication came on the 19th of November, in the middle of the afternoon of the 12th day of the admission, at 15:12 hours. Hanan al-Tuhami had arrived that morning for the 2nd of her 2 agreed family windows, an hour on the wing between 1400 and 1500 hours, with the elder son Walid at her side and, for the first time in the arrangement, the younger daughter Nawal in a school uniform coat and a wool hat pulled low against the November air. The wife had passed the security post at 1407. The son had passed at 1408. The daughter, on approach to the checkpoint at 1409, had been stopped by the officer of the middle ring at the corridor door. The morning of the 25th of November, 1988, was cold. The Radio Damascus bulletin at 0700 hours carried the ordinary morning weather across the mountains, and by mid-morning, the fine gray light that comes off Jebel Qasiyun when the wind is out of the northwest was over the Meza autostrad. Blackcap was rostered onto that evening's night shift, with matron Zaytun on early and staff nurse Rima Fayez on with her. She spent her afternoon in her Malki-adjacent apartment. Sergeant Major Barake nodded without looking up. She wheeled the trolley into the corridor. The corridor was empty. The overhead fluorescents had been dimmed at 1800 to the ward's night lighting. Room 5C was the third door along the north wall. Fayez opened the door ahead of her. Damascus, in the days after, did what Damascus does. A post-mortem was conducted at Al-Mouwasat on the morning of the 26th by a Ministry of Health pathologist under Air Force intelligence supervision. The pathologist's report, filed in Arabic on paper, recorded an acute cardiac event on the 21st day of a serious combat wound. The report cited the pyrexia of the previous afternoon and a period of low-grade sepsis 3 days earlier. There was no toxicology screen beyond the standard. The report was signed. It was stamped. It went into the case notes, and from the case notes, in due course, into a filing cabinet on the ground floor of the Air Force Intelligence Directorate headquarters, where it has, on the record, remained. The paradox at the seam is this. On the one side, the operational logic. A man protected by 30 officers of the Syrian Air Force Intelligence Directorate on the 5th floor of the largest teaching hospital in Damascus was reached because the 6 times a day the trolley moved were the 6 times a day the guard was contracted, in writing, to stand aside. That is the whole of the operation, and it is why the frame works. On the other side, the moral logic. A hospital ward is the one place where a nurse is trusted with the sickest person in the room. On the wing chart at Al-Mouwasat, the 4-hourly round was signed off in one Beirut-trained nurse's handwriting for 19 straight days before it was signed off, in that same handwriting, for the last time. Neither perspective cancels the other out. Both are true at once. So the question we would like you to sit with is this. How far does the trust between a patient and a nurse extend? And does it change if the patient is a man who has ordered the deaths of others? Tell us in the comments where you would draw that line and where you're watching from. If Operation Rota kept you all the way here, subscribe for the next one. Share this on Facebook or in the group chat you argue in, and we will see you on the next operation.